Hello, I'm Yana Lyashenko, a Google logistics expert, and I handle delivering target audiences for businesses. My goal is to effectively scale your online sales using various Google Ads tools. And in today's video, we will look at how you can relatively easily and simply set up shopping and advertising campaigns on your Shopify website. Indeed, very easily. Before we move on to specific actions, the timestamps will be below, and you need to remember a few important things. The first is that your entire setup will include 3 stages, whether you want it or not. The first stage is setting goals. Why do we need goals? Well, so you can see in the advertising account at least what is selling and what is not. Secondly, it is to ensure that we have the ability to launch the same performance max, smart shopping campaigns, and make them work. Why exactly in this context? Because Performance Max uses artificial intelligence, Google, and machine learning, which must be based on some data. That is, you cannot build any statistical or predictive model without some initial data to start with initially. Your initial data will be the correct conversions set up in the advertising account. This is something we do in any case. The second thing is that you really absolutely need to pass the verification in a platform called the Merchant Center. This is a very important stage, one of the fundamental ones where you can essentially get stuck. Why? Because Google is tightening the requirements for verification. We won't talk about that today. But you should understand that the verification of your store may take up to 72 hours, and if you get blocked, you will have to spend additional time resolving the issues. But we will not consider this moment today. We will look at how this can happen in a situation where we seem to have everything. And the third is directly the creation of advertising campaigns. Creating advertising campaigns will take you less than a minute following my instructions very easily. The longest periods of setup are directly related to the Merchant Center. Where do we start? We will start with setting up goals. Goal settings are the conversions, the main actions that we will track for the Google Ads system. There are 2 options for setting up these goals, such as the first is setting up through the 4th analytics, all these conversions, and so on. The second option is when we set up conversions for Google Ads itself. So we will be launching ads in the Google Ads service and an option to create personal conversions in Google Ads. In today's video, I will look at how to very quickly and effectively create Google Ads conversions. Regarding nuances, I have a separate video for the 4th analytics, which you can watch to learn how to set up the same purchase if you want to configure something more in depth for yourself. We are setting up the basics, with which you will be able to launch 100%. The only nuance you might slightly encounter is with the potentially accurate conversion tracking. This plugin is free, completely and absolutely free. But this needs checking. You need to run your ads to see if there are nuances and further fine-tuning is required. We are definitely going through the very easiest option when you have a minimal budget, if you want to launch on your own. This will be more than enough for you. Setting up analytics involves 2 stages. The first step is to ensure that conversions are being properly and accurately tracked in our Google Ads account. And second, it is important to have some basic dynamic remarketing on the website. These are 2 very important things. Both of these things can be very easily implemented with a single Google plugin designed for Shopify. It is called Google Channel, which is a very well-known and popular search engine. You can very easily find it in the Shopify store by simply searching for the app using the query you Google, or you can just use the link that will be in the description. Next, our task is to carefully install this plugin. Always check under. Make sure you are logged into your Shopify platform account with the correct email address, otherwise there might be some discrepancies. Click Install. And what do we clearly need to do next? The following step. Here, you practically don't need to change anything. You just simply need to click the Add Sales Channel button and then just proceed with the process. So after this, we need to carefully connect this plugin to Google services in a comprehensive manner to ensure seamless integration and avoid potential issues. Google services, the whole connection between them, Access to all services happens through one tool, parameter, attribute. This is an email. Therefore, it is advisable that you use the same email for all services, such as logging into Google Ads, Google Analytics for if you plan to create it, and other related services like Merchant Center, for example. It is advisable to create a separate email for all these services so that it is not linked anywhere else. Why? Later, you can link all the convenient emails you need. It's not super important. It is for this connection to occur correctly. In this case, to ensure everything goes smoothly without any issues and no accounts get mixed up, it is advisable to create a separate email. Make sure to keep access and the password, because for some reason people often lose them and connect through it. This is perfect. If you don't want to, use any Gmail account or corporate email that is used with the Gmail server, that is, Google, to track all this history. Well, essentially, simply click the Google Connect button. Next, you essentially need to choose the email you will use to log in and allow all the necessary permissions. Unfortunately, Google will always ask for these permissions. Next, you will need to go through all these various stages before anything actually happens in the advertising account. What does this essentially mean? Here immediately, this application can immediately mark everything with check marks, but usually in some stores, this block may be inactive, however. Then you need to add. Just click on this button. It will take you to the refund policy and terms of service section on your Shopify platform and ask you to fill them out. The terms of service can be filled out using a generator. In Shopify, in Rafampolis, you will have to write as Google slightly requests. Link to the basic requirements for passing moderation. The official documentation is available for you to read. See the section on the refund policy. It is very desirable that you describe it in great detail. Then you save all of it and we confirm that this is all of our story. After that, if your email was completely new, it will suggest creating a new merchant center to your account or profile for you. In my case, there are several merchant centers here. I will show you how I create a new account in this instance. Here's the new account. I will definitely have a numerical value here. Remember that you always have access to this merchant center with the email address you use to connect your Google channel with Shopify. Next, make sure to click on the Connect button. Next, we proceed to verify the phone number. This confirmation is mandatory. The phone number must. Where will this phone number go? Which? Here we are accurately confirming the ownership of the website properly and thoroughly and completely. Waiting. I am clicking this because I have already had several merchant centers for the site, as I recorded videos for different scenarios. So if you have a similar situation, we are transferring our site. In your case, it will be a matter of connecting a new merchant center. You won't need to do anything else. Next, we need to enter the phone number very carefully and precisely at this critical point. This phone number must exactly match the phone number provided on the website because this specific phone number will be pulled into a designated section of the Merchant Center settings. This entire process is checked by both Google employees and automated robots that allow you to successfully pass the initial verification stages of your store. So be very careful not to enter any random number here, not your grandmother's, not your mom's, not any of your personal, work, or other phone numbers that are not related to your website, such as the phone number you have on your website must match exactly. At this moment, I am going to personally confirm and verify it myself. Please proceed to obtain the necessary code. Initially, a bit more, an unusual and peculiar window will pop up where you need to enter this code. After that, click on Check Wi-Fi slightly. All right, let's move on. After this, meaning we've done some setup, the Merchant Center is formed, the account in Merchant Center is created, and some info is filled in. We'll still check this. Let's move on. Select the target country, and language. Be sure to check extremely carefully because we are thoroughly reviewing the detailed creation process here. Store and launching ads and services for stores that have a single language on the website. If having multiple languages on your site, you need to use a different plugin. If relevant, write in comments. I am making a separate video on how to do this with a multilingual Shopify site. Choose your country. Usually, this is the country where you registered this Shopify. Here you choose. You will have the United States, Canada, Europe, whatever suits you. And be sure to choose the target language, that is, the language you will be targeting directly. This is very important. Make sure to select this section. Your feed in Merchant Center will be created in this language. This is an important point. Next, click Save. I would also recommend noting a few additional points here, however. We will gradually approach this in a step-by-step manner. As you can see, the setup process through this plugin is simple. Everything is made quite simple for the people. After that, the plugin will definitely ask you to choose the shipping settings. This is a very, very important step. Why? Because Shopify has an extremely and highly convenient tool that automatically and effortlessly and seamlessly uploads the weight of the product in a very efficient manner and accordingly. All these attributes related to shipping are automatically generated within Merchant Center. And in most cases, I would recommend using automatic import shipping information because it is very convenient. If you choose manual setup shipping information, then you need to manually set the shipping size, such as considering the moderation of all merchant centers for the Shopify platform, it is always recommended to leave the automatic import of all shipping methods. Thus, conversion tracking is not mandatory. We leave Gen off, absolutely agree to the terms, and click Complete Setup. After that, what do we absolutely need to do, essentially? So, what did we do together? You can simply go to the settings and take a look. We have created a merchant center and filled it with some additional basic information. We selected the country, the feed language that will be uploaded, set up delivery settings, and other details. Next, we definitely choose product title preferences. I usually recommend selecting the SEO product title because it is generally more information-rich than the default product title. In each individual case, this needs to be considered individually. We are talking about a standard basic setup universal for everyone, then we include it. Let's move on. Our task now is to check the Merchant Center and Google AdSense settings to provide a comprehensive overview. Let's start and ensure everything is set up correctly and finish our goal setting verification stage in a step-by-step manner. For this, we simply need to go to the Overview section. After that, click the Get Started button. And here we need to either select an existing advertising account that you already have access to with the email address that you use to connect to the Google Channel plugin with your Google services, or we create a new one, which will be linked to your email. Well, let's say I create an entirely new one right now. There's also some cool information here, meaning you'll have a conditional credit of $500. Why conditional? Because it gets spent in a rather interesting way. In some advertising accounts, sometimes you spend $500, receive $500 as a lump sum, and other times it is just spent in parallel with all current advertising expenses. So we have an absolutely created advertising account. We note its identifier. This is very important. Next, we click Create Campaign. Here we initially open our Merchant Center, which we originally created. We still need to separately open this Google Ads account that the system created for us. To do this, follow this link by clicking on the account number. Here, we have a Google Ads account. First, we need to check if we have conversions in the advertising account, which is automatically set up with the Google Channel plugin. We ensure that we definitely have the complete set and the correct settings for them, ensuring all is accurate. If you, like me, initially open this block in this window, you can go to the conversion tracking block through this conversion management block. Or you simply go to this left panel of various conversion goals. You can easily choose a summary or even the settings, as you wish. The summary is the most versatile option. After that, click View All Actions. I like this option the most. Then we definitely need to add more columns. So we need attribution. All right, done. What do we see here? Initially, at first, this plugin created this set of goals for us. This plugin did all of this automatically and efficiently for you. This is convenient. No need to figure out Google Tag Manager, the data layer, or code implementation. The Google Channel plugin handles it. Your task is to check if it is recorded correctly. What do we see here? Make sure to definitely check that only this goal, called Google Shopping and Purchase in the Purchase section, is present and optimized for primary actions. Well, anything can happen. You can't trust Google. And also check the attribution. It's preferable for the attribution to be set to last click for these goals. What should you do if one of these blocks is not in the right place? Hypothetically speaking, you go into this specific goal, change the settings, and adjust one of the items. If your add to cart action is set as the primary action, then you should make it a secondary action. It is shown on purchase as the primary action. Secondly, always check the attribution model. It should be last click if your account is almost new. If there is some analytics on collected conversions, you can leave the data-driven attribution model. Just do it as I have indicated here. After that, your task will be to simply check on the website whether all these conversions are working or not. How do you basically verify if they're working or not? Your task is to essentially open your website. Here I have my website. After that, proceed to one of the conversions such as sales or leads. Click on Tag Setup. Use the Tag Manager carefully. And pay close attention specifically to this number because my website will have a lot of things set up since this is not actually just simply first video I'm making, but you need absolutely make sure that this number is displayed 4175. There are also these labels here which we will definitely pay attention closely. We will probably start by checking the add to cart goal because you will be making the purchase yourself later. The most important thing is to check you have add to cart and purchase set up. These are two most basic goals because they play a role in bid optimization if we use Performance Max. We expand this to cart in Tag Manager 41.75 and copy this tag or fix it for ourselves. We go to our website, select the product card. Be sure to install this extension called Tag Assistant Legacy. I know it will definitely complain that this extension is no longer supported. I will show another way to do it. But just in case, while it is available, you can use it because it is a bit easier to check all this tracking compared to the second option that Google offers. I click, that is, I reloaded, clicked enable, and reloaded. Check global site tag code 4175. Then click add button to 55. After that, I definitely cart. Well, depending on what template you have, if it's like mine, you will have approximately the same thing. I'm looking for these labels with the number 4175, which are called Google Ads Conversion Tracking. It's essential. I have 3 of them installed here because they are for 3 different events. We are looking for our add to cart. How can we conveniently search for it? There are requests down here. We scrolled through, page view. Select the second one, tracking. Again, 2 requests. This is view item. This is not what we need. And third, we select conversion tracking, here 10. Some value amount is already showing. I click request and I see the add to cart event here. I go here, add to cart. Everything is great. We have the goal. The goal is recorded. You do the same with purchase, meaning I will now complete an order on my site. You won't see all of this due to confidential data, but so you understand, your task will be to make it fully successful just like mine. Now, the final page will be a thank you page for the order. Here, I definitely open Tag Assistant and look for 4175 my ads conversion tracking. This one probably doesn't fit because it doesn't have a value. The second one has a value, so I copy this tag from here, think Google Ads, press Ctrl plus F, Ctrl plus V, 78Q, see? 70B, 70M, and this is the Add to Cart button. Please wait for a moment. This is our Add to Cart button, and then you can proceed to purchase. Now, if we go here, that's it. This is our purchase process. This conversion has recorded what we've seen in it. It should contain information. Well, this is the ID of our Google Ads. This is the label. The order value and our currency, which must be transmitted, should be included. You can also go here and take a look. What else has been transferred here? We have tax, we have shipping conditionally. The second option for verifying all of this information is by using another browser extension, which is specifically called Tiga System Companion, and it is designed to help with this process. I will also provide a link to it below in the description. It opens in this specific format. You must then add it in our designated window and then add our domain, and this very scary story will open up. Your task is once again on the site, which must have the System Connect tag icon, and this is very important. Click this same Add to Cart, complete the purchase. I will show you on this map. I have the main page, I have the left short. Here in the primary code, you find your 4175. Here you found it. Your AW number should match exactly with what you have for verification purposes. Ours ends at 4175. After that, we look at this hit send section and this block, and then, okay, see, it can be large. What are we looking for here? We are looking for our Add to Cart. See, I selected this Add to Cart, clicked conversion, and what do I see here? I will guide you now. My conversion value, Add to Cart, it has transmitted the value, the product amount, precisely. The revenue from this product is 10. It has transmitted the currency. Here is also the label of this conversion directly. Well, basically, this is what we especially need. Here, data is also automatically collected. What is data? Well, to not complicate the whole picture, it's the content, the product item, the cost that it transmitted. You will have the same as I do. If I complete my checkout now, that is, place my order, complete order, my page is loading. This means that I have added items to my cart, and now the page is processing my order and will confirm it soon. See? Sankey purchase. And here will be the purchase event. See? Right? You are definitely looking for that purchase where you will absolutely have hit send. This is specifically related to this code, because I remind you, I might have a lot more of these things than you do. Don't be alarmed. You are looking for your purchase for the tag. We reveal the conversion. What are we looking for? We definitely look for transaction IDs. This is our order ID. Conversion value is our order amount. Currency, the type of event is purchase, and the content of this product item. There are events here, data is here, and here are the items that are being transmitted. We have everything. So we have, basically, everything is set up. Ideally, of course, you should have a larger, more extensive data set so that it is conveyed more beautifully. This is absolutely perfect for situations when you undoubtedly need a more advanced setup. But if you're starting, this is for beginners who want to launch it themselves. This will be more than enough. Further optimization of the codes and refining them is something that needs to be done. But this will definitely be relevant for you if you indeed consider this advanced setup. So, the stage of closing all these issues related to conversions is now finally complete. So, we have gathered enough conversions to confidently launch the Smart Performance Max ads. This amount of data is certainly sufficient for you to start working on optimizing and managing these campaigns effectively. Another element that you haven't fully set up yet is indeed also dynamic remarketing. Since this plugin does not solve it in this context, we will skip it for now because it involves separate work with the code. If you are interested in setting up dynamic remarketing, let me know in the comments, and I will make a separate video on how to implement it on the Shopify platform. If I get at least 10 comments, I will definitely make a video about it. We have conversions. Our ad campaign will work. Optimization, upgrades, and performance improvement must be discussed with you, involving the feed, remarketing, and installing additional codes. We are setting the basics so you can start and you will start selling. So, we have finished setting up the conversion process, and now we need to proceed to the moderation check stage in Merchant Center. So, we go back again into our Merchant Center account. Here it is right here, created. Your service might also be called Merchant Center Next. The navigation will be almost identical to mine. Yes, there might be some slight nuances for you, but the concept will be the same. If you ever want to return to the same interface as mine, you will find it in your account settings, and there will be an option at the bottom to delete this Merchant Center. Not yourself as a user, meaning not account access, but specifically account settings, there will be an option to delete. When you click on this delete button, a window will simply pop up with options to delete, cancel, or switch to the classic version of Merchant Center. You can just switch to the classic version of Merchant Center because of Merchant Center Next. Even though this will be a future version of Merchant Center, it doesn't quite fit all these nuances, settings, adjustments, and so on. We will not cover that. If you want the same interface as mine, you can do it likewise. If not, then you are looking at how my personal Shopify did it for me. This Merchant Center was set up for me by Shopify. So after this, we definitely check if the feed has already been uploaded to our Merchant Center. I refreshed my Merchant Center and the feeds section appeared. I look here and it will always say Content API, which is mandatory. Your products will either appear here immediately or with some delay. This can also be in the type of data transfer called Content API, such as, what is this type of feeds content API, and how does it differ from other possible methods of generating feeds? This Content API practically, so to speak, transmits information from your website to your products in the Merchant Center. Here, your website is accessed every half hour, maybe every 40 minutes, something like that. This is not very fast, but it is still faster than loading classic feeds, where the maximum update occurs only once a day without your involvement. Therefore, this is the ideal speed option. What do we do next? Look, we have just created the Merchant Center, which means we are just starting the very initial verification process of our Merchant Center. Make sure to pay attention to the extremely important fact that your verification process has just begun. Here we have shopping ads, a shopping ads program, and we have dynamic remarketing and free listings connected. If you don't have these programs, go to the Grow section, Manage Programs, to enable shopping ads and dynamic remarketing, if not everything passes moderation together. This verification can take up to 3 business days. These are business days, not just 24-hour periods. Initially, a robot will be checking you. If the bot is not satisfied with something on your site, you will see an error in the accountation section. Right now, at this moment, people are being blocked en masse for no apparent reason, seemingly, so be prepared for that. That is, this is indeed one of the most excruciating points for most stores around the world. Very. It does not depend on your race or specific religion, nor does it depend on your specific geographical location. You can get into this blockage without any problems, but you should be prepared for it. If you get approved, then you need to go through all the stages, adjust your site, and we can discuss this separately if it is relevant for you. Please leave comments if so. Usually, within 72 hours, you pass the verification, and all 3 of your services should be selected separately and should be green, like here with dynamic remarketing. My Prelesnik is also in the pending item section. You can find the same information about whether your Merchant Center is verified or not in your Google Channel plugin. I will now emphasize it here with additional details. Right here in this section, it doesn't show anything yet, but eventually you will always be able to find information there, such as pending, under review, not approved, or approved. It can also indicate the status of your merchant center, whether it is blocked or not. So, until the full verification of the shopping ads service, you won't be able to launch this advertisement. Make sure to note this and understand it. Without passing the verification in Merchant Center, you won't be able to launch quick ads. That's why I mentioned that this could indeed be the most prolonged moment where you might get stuck when creating your advertising campaigns. But if everything is okay with your website, if you look presentable, you will most likely pass moderation very quickly and you will be satisfied with it. That is, indeed, we wait for the complete verification of the entire situation with the Merchant Center. Without this verification, we won't be able to create advertising campaigns. So, with this, we have conditionally completed this important step. Next, how can you create advertising campaigns specifically related to Google Ads? You have two ways to create campaigns. We will now look at creating Performance Max campaigns. These smart campaigns can be launched immediately because they already collect information from your website, just like other advertising campaigns. The only difference is that they use Google's artificial intelligence. How can they be created? The fastest way for you is, of course, to easily and efficiently create it using the Google Channel plugin. Click Create Campaign, quickly and effectively. We are initially taken to the Setup Campaign section, and here we have a comprehensive set of settings, and basically, we would definitely go through the set of settings in any case when creating campaigns. Why? I always recommend creating the first shopping campaigns with Merchant Center because, firstly, you won't encounter any bugs, errors, or other issues when you create them directly in the Google Ads interface. The second reason is that setting up such a company is really very quick because, essentially, all you need is, the marketing and ad campaigns sections. In the next Merchant Center, this will also be a separate section called Ad Campaigns. I have continuous setup here, and it essentially leads to the same block of this information that will essentially be here. It will just go through ad products again because they will take some time to load and migrate, but the essence will be roughly the same. Why do I like this method of creating a campaign? Because it does not require you to make additional edits to the object. We will get to that shortly, creating creatives in text and so on. This company will be more than enough for you to simply start smart shopping ad campaigns in any country in the world without any problems. How do we create them? You have several fields here. There are only 4. This is to select products by feed label. It's just one feed. If you are using multiple feeds, this setting is relevant. You can skip it. You can always filter some products in Google Ads. Next, make sure to select the correct identifier for your Google Ads account. That is, it should match the Google Ads account with the number you will see here in the top right above the email. This is very important because sometimes different Google Ads get mixed up and all this information gets spread around. After that, make sure to set the daily budget. The starting daily budget for most niches is typically around $9 to $10 on average, which means that you can freely set it. You can set it lower depending on the country where you will be launching, but usually $10 is the standard minimum just to start showing ads. For me personally, I set it to the equivalent of 400 hryvnias, and then there's the campaign name. By the way, here Google recommends setting it a bit higher. You can follow the recommendation or set an equivalent of approximately $10. Here, as you wish. One of my recommendations is to specify the types of products that will be included there, or any additional criteria, so you understand what kind of products are in this Performance Max. Why? Because I have only one product item here. You might have 100,000, you might have 1,000, you might have 500. If you are going to create Performance Max campaigns for categories or with goals and bidding strategies, it is best to name these campaigns. Naming campaigns Performance Max 1, 2, 3 is not logical and does not clearly reflect the structure of your account. But you can leave it like this. I create campaign, continue, and while the verification is in progress, there's this whole story with Merchant Center moderation. But if we just simply passed everything we do, we simply reload after we clicked Create Campaign in our Google Ads account. And when we reloaded the page in the campaign section, companies, we already have the full name of the company we created, the budget we set. What do we need to do next? Initially, you must either pause this campaign through Enable Post, or you can leave it as it is, but make sure to adjust its settings. This is very important. Click the pencil icon and then Edit Campaign. Go to the Settings section, and then what exactly are we editing here in the Settings section? Be sure to adjust locations, because in Merchant Center, it is automatically created for all countries and territories. There is a golden rule. If you have multiple countries to target, place one country in one campaign. This way, you'll have more flexibility in controlling the results and budget allocation, as one country may consume the budget without generating sales, while another may generate sales. You won't be able to scale this result, so it's advisable to choose the locations correctly. Moving on. Languages. It all comes down to several factors. The first one, the language that is spoken by your buyers, your customers, or the fundamental language that is used on your website. Because there are countries not very friendly with the English language, such as France. There are, for example, certain audience segments in particular specific communities, such as Latinos in the United States, who might not even know English. Or the same Brooklyn with a Russian-speaking audience, who probably do not know English, living in a closed community. Or, for example, take the Netherlands, where English is like a second native language, so there is no problem running campaigns in two languages. Therefore, it all comes down to the languages your audience speaks. If you need everything indiscriminately, then you can set it to all languages. But I always recommend choosing only the languages spoken by your potential audience. The next setting, which I recommend turning off, but you can leave it on if you prefer. This is the automatically created assets section. Text assets, final URL. You simply need to exclude a specific URL from your site if you leave these 2 points. What are these URLs? These are primarily links to various blogs, news policies, shipping policies, and other refund policies, such as, for example, these are the kinds of pages from which you don't want keywords to be collected, because essentially this section of settings is responsible for such types of advertising campaigns as dynamic search ads. This, of course, might be something, roughly speaking, some kind of maybe math for you. Difficult. Is chemistry difficult or math? I've forgotten Russian. It could be something complex, like physics or chemistry, but conditionally. This type of campaign can capture keywords for search campaigns and ads from different pages. Therefore, if you want to set this up, it is advisable to include pages in the search. I, for example, prefer to always turn them off for the first launch. I can add them later. I can create a duplicate of this campaign, test everything in it, and the parallel history is not essential. Moving on. The next extremely important settings are definitely very crucial goals. If our goal is purchases, we must definitely choose purchases. It is advisable to do this. Why? Because you need to understand, Performance Max uses advanced and sophisticated artificial intelligence that builds predictive models to accurately and precisely find your customers. It has a specific and comprehensive set of configurations. If a store, we start the campaign from the Merchant Center for purchases. So we need to choose a global goal, and that is purchases. So the settings should be clear and correct. Let's move on. We either need to adjust the bidding strategy we have or reduce our budget. But in this case, if we are starting with a small advertising budget, our task is to adjust our strategy because initially, advertising campaigns are launched to maximize conversion value. This is not a bad strategy, but it has one drawback. As soon as you start getting your sales and begin increasing your advertising budget, because your scaling point will be the budget, your profit will be consumed. Because this strategy, in essence, does not focus on your return on investment. Even if the income is just a few dollars higher than the expense, Google will consider that it has executed its bidding strategy very successfully, meaning it is very effective. Therefore, it is advisable to set constraints in target RAS here. How do you set it? There are several strategy options that you might consider. The first option is to start with something small as a starting point. If we are launching in American and European markets, we might start with a 50% option, and over time you'll increase this profitability. The second option is when you aim for average weighted values. They are different in each country, so I cannot list all the target RAS for each country. You can start with 150% in others, with 200% or even 500% profitability works very well. So, just so you understand, you will always have to play around with this value to find the optimal balance for yourself. In this case, I am showing you a strategy option where you don't excessively limit your bids while still participating in a profitable auction and appearing for great queries. At the same time, you will control your final profitability by setting a budget limit, such as, we are starting with a very small amount. It's $400, which is roughly equivalent to $10 for me. Even if I leave it here in the state, it's a decent amount to start with. Remember, all these bids can be adjusted, the budget up and down, and profitability accordingly. So, we have covered the absolutely basic and essential important settings, without which you shouldn't start Performance Max at all. Next, what do we need to do? When I explained why it is indeed possible and very necessary to launch these campaigns with Merchant Center, it is because of this section called the Assets group. Usually, when we create Performance Max through the Google Ads interface, there is a very lengthy procedure involving the creation of these objects, assets. You need to provide images, texts, and other elements. In most accounts, as of the time I am currently recording this video, it is right now November 10th. Only in the States have they rolled out a full update on assets, where your artificial intelligence, that is, Google's artificial intelligence, automatically fills in all these fields based on your URL. You just enter the final URL and all these fields are populated, and not in all advertising accounts. We can show you an example this can be generated. This story covers AI. I will show you how to fill this out manually, step by step. If you were creating advertising campaigns here through this Google Ads interface, you would click on Create Campaign, New Campaign, select the correct conversion. We do not need this. Continue. Performance Max campaign, your Google Merchant Center, name it. Go through these long steps. There are 50 steps. Go further. Geography settings, languages, remove these unnecessary things. Go even further, and here we would finally reach the essence. Without them, we wouldn't have progressed in creating the company, but it might give you an error, meaning it won't let you proceed. If it lets you proceed here, it might not let you. Tornado centers are formed to avoid these elements. We'll cover them. In what cases should they be added? If you want to start with a strategy not focused on value, not on maximizing conversion value, but on maximizing conversions, then in that case, it is advisable to add them. Or if you have services or some type of advertising campaigns where you have lead generation instead of purchases through the cart. Here you have the opportunity to add images. Please feel free to add them. Take them from a sheet, preferably add your own, logos, videos if you have them, and you can also add text. I don't have anything to offer here yet because my website is still completely empty at the moment. Long headlines, descriptions, these are all the texts in your business that you definitely add, so there are no problems. This is already such a long stage. Sometimes the interface glitches, sometimes it doesn't fill in all these things, sometimes it gets messed up. That's why I suggest you create a campaign directly from the Merchant Center interface. It's very easy, quick, and without problems. This remains in the projects, so it won't be active in any way. Another option for settings that you can focus on is signals. If you have gone through the object, you set it manually, meaning there are also signals. What are signals? They are currently a conditional element of settings that can provide a primary guide for the company on which audience to target. There are several sections here covering different aspects and nuances. First, there are search themes. Here, your task is to set the keywords that people might use to search for your products. This is a really cool feature. It just came out of beta for all accounts. These are the exact queries that artificial intelligence will use to predict model building for finding your audience. There are a few more additional sections, such as your data. Your data includes remarketing lists and segments from Google Analytics or the same dynamic remarketing and other related data. There are also Google, Pinterest, and detailed demographics. Here you can search for anything, including live events like getting a dog, selling a house, getting married, and so on, a variety of different interests. There is demographics. The household income block is still relevant, but for other countries, it is not relevant. Well, basically, there is a large set of settings that you can use to further clarify to the system what your product is about and who to target first. Remember, this signal is not a precise, limited audience that Google will target. It is a guideline, but it will still take a broad approach. Do you need to set a signal initially? No. If your feed is well structured, has basic attributes, and is well optimized, then you can launch your performance max without specifying signals. You need to specify signals only if you have run your performance for at least a week. And you can already see some various nuances in the different insights and additional reports. They won't load for me at the moment, so you'll need to browse through these reports to see what's happening with your advertising campaign at this very moment. Here, there will be a section on search terms and queries. There will also be information on audiences, and you will see whether your performance is directed there or not, based on auction statistics in search and shopping. You will generally see if you are competing in the auction you intended and whether your competitors are there or not. In such a case, it makes sense to set a signal. In other words, you can start this campaign without a signal, and it will still work quite well. It all depends on how well your feed is structured and formatted. That is, how informative it is, how good the title is for this product listing, the name, and overall. You see, here I have the description of the item. It is filled with all the attributes that are available. You need to fill all of this out. That is, you need to complete all these sections without any issues, undoubtedly. You directly Google the FIDA Merchant Center specification request and go through all the attributes that might apply to your product listings, filling them all out. How to fill them out? You will have to manually add them to your feed using supplemental feeds. But this is already a section on feed optimization in Merchant Center. Another important setting, which I haven't mentioned yet, but it may not be relevant for all stores. You must fill out the refund section, your refund policy. For most stores, it needs to be completed. For Ukraine, it's not required, but advisable to fill it out as it can be pulled into the advertisement. One more crucial detail to keep in mind is that if you are planning to launch your application or service in the United States, it is absolutely essential to ensure that you configure your text settings appropriately for this specific region. If you choose Specify My Own, here I have it like this. For the States, you basically need to select All automatically without any manual intervention and then save. For the States, this is a relevant story. For all other countries, it is not relevant. That's it. We have established the goals. They are in place. We quickly created the Merchant Center, passed the verification. I have shown how to create advertising campaigns. If needed, you can adjust, modify, or do other things with them. Now, if we see that our account cannot yet be displayed because our products are under review in the Merchant Center, it is advisable to take this into account. This means your advertising campaign will not be fully set up yet. And of course, don't forget that you always need to enter your billing information. You need to provide your payment information because without it, you won't be able to launch ads, there will be no expenses, and the advertising account won't be funded, resulting in no impressions or clicks. So, keep this in mind to ensure you don't forget about it. The advertising account is funded within Google Ads, a key detail. Without it, you won't be able to advertise, the final step. Google will even remind you that you haven't added your important and necessary payment information. Basically, this is the basic set of knowledge you need to launch these very smart shopping ad campaigns on Shopify with Performance Max, which Google itself highly praises and which indeed truly perform the best on the market. That's all from me.